time for the Tesla and Palantir weekly update, and we'll even include a few other stocks as well, so stay tuned. But starting with Tesla, we're going to use our linear scale chart first just to show you the linear scale fibs, and it is still in between the same range as before, the 321.32 up to the 347, and nothing really has changed week over week over week. It's been in that same zone, still has the same resistance, has the same support. Even if you put on the Ichimoku and the SMAs, you can see that it went down to retest the conversion line, that blue line right there. Even that green 50-week moving average, it went to retest, and it went down to retest the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud. So during the whole week, there was a lot of panic, but it was just going back down to high time frame support. So as I always say, there's no reason to fear high time frame support. This is an opportunity, not something to fear. So what we're going to probably likely see is just more consolidation in this zone and perhaps another attempt of trying to break free of this 347.58 plus the orange GAN level up here is around 358. So that's the next zone to really break above to get a lot more explosive. And it kind of, when we switch to log scale over here, it's the same zone, right? The top of the arc right here is around 348, right? And then you got the 886 at 353.19. So this is the same zone on linear scale and log scale that has to be broken. So it's probably going to just be stuck for a little bit longer until able to break free. But once it is able to break free, at least the arc, then the 886 will come next, and then after that, it'll go back towards all-time highs. So it's going in the right directions. It's steps in progress, and it's just something that's going to have more and more patience, which I know a lot of people don't like, but that's just the reality of a lot of stocks. If they're stuck in a range, it could take a while until they break out, but that range could mean it could be very explosive once it does break out. So patience is needed. Let's just keep watching this support zone hold from the 323 down to the 317. Just keep watching that stabilize, and eventually it'll break free of this resistance above. And next we have Palantir, and Palantir, I want to show you the most important thing that happened this week, and that was a successful backtest of the 1.618 Fibonacci extension. This 157.62, there was a beautiful wick below it, but it actually closed the week back above it, which is bullish, right? So that means so far since the breakout, it's just a successful backtest, no matter how deep the wick went, and it held. We can also put on some confluence that it did go below the conversion line a little bit. The conversion line is at 159.26. It did close at 158.74. So it is the first weekly candle close below that conversion line since it really broke back above back in April. So does that mean it might go a little bit lower down to this baseline at 128? Well, maybe not. And I think I'm going to show you why on the linear scale chart right here. And we can see that what happened during the week is it went back down to my linear scale arc. I showed you this chart last week. If you go back and watch the video, I was talking about this 168 zone. And since that didn't hold, it went straight down and flushed down to that arc. And I think that's why I got all that liquidity down there, because that was market symmetry, right? So this is why that wick was created. A lot of liquidity down below. So it just did a breakout back test of the arc. So now I think we can start to find some stability in this zone. So I don't think it is necessary to go back down to this baseline at 128.06. I think we can actually stay in this linear scale range right here, anywhere from the 140 up to the 168, and just build a base in here, right? And just take its time to get more and more bullish. And ideally, what I would like to try to see is if it can continue to close weekly candles back above this 1.618 right here, the 157.62. So during the week, it can do whatever it wants, but on Friday, I would prefer it to continue to stabilize above that 157.62. So let's find out. I also have a log scale GAN I want to show you on this chart. And let me just pull that up, and there it is. It did close a little bit below that, and also there's confluence of that zone, because next week that angle right there is around 143. So this is just more confluence with the linear scale that it's the same kind of range, right? This angle is in the low 140s up to the 160s, and just like this arc is in the low 140s up to the 160s as well. So that's the range it's going to be in until it's really able to break out again. But I just want to find stability in here in the weeks to come until it's really ready to continue higher. So there is no damage done to this chart at all. Still a very, very healthy bullish chart. And next we have Coinbase, and Coinbase, I just want to show you this, the 318.95, it closed above. That's the 886 fib. This was what I've been waiting for a while. Ever since it broke below back on late July, it could not close any weekly candle above it until yesterday. So that 318.95, I'm going to be watching that zone. Also, we can put on the Ichimoku just to take a look to show you that it went down multiple times already to touch that baseline, which is at 293.61. So that is our support zone. And so far, support is holding. And if this continues to hold, then we'll see a continuation higher. I also have a little bit more confluence of Coinbase here on the linear scale. And I've shown you this chart before, maybe a few weeks ago. And we can see it's regaining this blue GAN level right here. That's right around 318, and the angle below is around 305. And when I mentioned it before, it was basically, I think, during this week where I said it's possible to go back to the angle and retest it, and that was back in late July. So if you go back and watch those daily updates, you can take a look at this chart and see how it updated since then. But this is essentially right in the sweet spot, right? The angle, the arc, and there's even the bottom arc there in the low or the mid 280s, right? But it's not a guarantee to get there because this angle has been very important throughout time. So ultimately, if we're looking for a breakout, we're going to need to look at this arc and flip it to a support. And once that arc can really flip to a support, then we'll start to see the continuation higher again. But right now, it's kind of stuck under that arc, and that arc really sits around 321. So I want to just start to see that build a base before it's ready to continue higher. But in the meantime, let's watch this zone. Just keep stabilizing in here. The 318s down to the 309, 308, 307. That zone, just keep stabilizing there until it's really ready to continue higher. But it's a very healthy chart. Higher highs, higher lows, almost ready to continue the journey higher. And the big number we're still going to focus on, 318.95. And next is MSTR, and MSTR, there's not much to really take away, so we're just going to look at log scale because something important happened, right? The baseline finally was touched after it broke out back in May, and also, since it broke out with this bullish engulfing candle back in April, it finally backtested the 1.414 fib as well. Didn't think it was going to do it because it was riding this arc down as support, but once it broke below, it was clear sailing to retest all the support, even almost touched the cloud as well as a support. But this is still a healthy development, right? Backtesting high time frame support is a very bullish thing for that continuation higher. So we're just going to watch price essentially stabilize in this zone from the arc up here, 364, down to the 340s. I think it can just stay here for some weeks until it's really ready to break out. So let's just keep watching this zone as a range until it wants to get more and more bullish again. So there's no damage done to this chart. It just went down to high time frame support. So let's just watch stability in that zone. And once it can flip this arc, this top arc back to a support, then we'll start to see it try to continue the journey higher. And next is Galaxy, and Galaxy Digital, I just wanted to show you that it's still not getting above this 886 fib at 2777, but it's also not going back to the 786 to the 2110, and I think the reason why is because of this top arc. We can see that back here in May, this was a previous resistance, came back down to the bottom arc, held it as support, it broke out of the arc, and it finally back tested the top arc there at 22.95. So that is a bullish development. It actually even closed back above the conversion line this week too. It spent a lot of time the whole week below that 25.29, but it did close above. So this is still in a nice support zone, and there is no guarantee to go back down to that 21.10, that 786, because the arc can hold it as support. But if we're looking for something to be more explosive, it has to start closing candles above this 27.77. So it's not there yet, which means it's just range bound. But I'll be watching that support in the weeks to come. And next week, that bottom arc or that top arc is going to be around 23.30. So just keep building a base on top of that zone, and it'll be able to continue the journey higher.